third in. The third in has updated staircase, which is from the winter since the water heater busted out. Same with the Lamb Weston pipes got busted. And coincidence, after they rebuilt the water lines and the water heater, replaced the whole place with a decking, which is from which is modeled decking is as you can see, remodeled, placed on this deck is available to use at any time, as after 10 p.m. We all keep it quiet as there are other guests nearby. It's windy. Please do not open umbrella. But if you put the edge of the deck, please use it for the cigarettes and for the deck floor. Please clean up the garbage, and alcohol must be in a cup, glass, no cans or bottles. We're going to get some meat and process it. Let's marinate it. This time we're going to hack at this. Make sure when we cook this grill's going to be clean. Tip top. Prosecutor's office over in Kennewick, Washington, Dana law firm here in Broadway. Was hit by a truck. Outstanding balance of $10,000 was reimbursed to the lady that hit me with her truck on Broadway Division in front of Dana law firm, where the FedEx vehicles and employees testified against her. Because I'm at the oil company, the biggest oil company in the world, provides service, import, exports for fuel, unleaded, diesel, and kerosene, and crude oil, which are put in containers, and refineries are exporting and importing to different areas for fine product. $10,000 was returned to Stephanie Maine Jordan Swanberg in her country, and the all the finance department with the Wash State Collision Report, which is no more and accounted for anymore, since I was put on attack at the police department. Fellow police department officers and sheriffs were at the 1340 Basin Insurance Company, Pacific. Security guards came out of the Freda courthouse and it went outside the table, did idolized threats, so it's all good. Social Security office, I just left Social Security office Thursday, and going back tomorrow. And the Gold's Gym needs their photographs, just like the Security office. We need their photographs of me, so I can have the manifest and put on PDF that all amounts were paid and balanced, and get everything squared away. So, Kim Wayne is the Secretary of State, and she provides services for the license department and business. She puts the seal and documentations on identities, first name, last name, UBI number, annual reports, yearly reports, identities, status activities. The day it was open, the day it was closed, and it's never closed, it's always open. And Bill Gates and Mr. Donald Trump were having some words, which is the early of the campaign. And as a mother and father, see, he got some nerve of doing that. He had no permission until about anything until they showed up. But I guess that's what happens when you have sex with Roberta Barela and Lola Hernandez and Daniel Hernandez and United States Marine Corps, United States Army, and also the United States Air Force, and also Mr. Bambach, Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps at the Mueller Spring Home that runs the Microsoft program. John Deere Evergreen Implement runs the John Deere Evergreen Implement, RDK Systems, Stellar System, Green Star Systems that are installed in the John Deere equipment, and we're asking for some documentation so we can have it served and subpoenaed and put a restraining order on the guy, since they'd like jumping in the sheriff car, police car, and then running around as civilians with concealed weapons, because he got pistol whipped and his bullets are all over the main street at City Hall, Cimaron 5 Iron C, Basin Insurance Company, and 105 East Hamlet, which is the mayor's house. 7 years for each bullet, which is and banishing weapon and threats with gun or knife. Mr. Andy Miller's outside and he has a gun. Same with Donald Trump, he has a gun. Same with Bill Gates have a gun, and the owners of Lamb West, or the crane operators, which is Lamps and Cranes, Kennewick High School, Chapel Falls, Desert Lawn Memorial, Brindley Memorial, has Microsoft Company and Microsoft hardware to install all the open casket, closed casket, which is a state patrolman was murdered in Pasco. So I'm at the Social Security office. False identity and post office and body, face and identity, body of a retrieval, put in the body bag. The cop is driving with a body bag around with his gun, his bullets are out in the middle of the street, Main Street, 7 years each for each bullet, in front of 7,000 people, and it's full of Washington. Figuring that they can just put a body in a hearse and haul it off to the crematorium and cremate somebody. On top of that, they have a cremation key inside the doorway. They didn't make it that far, did they? They don't know what to do with a dead body when it's not even under the influence of drugs, or they think they're gonna beat you up and then shoot you up with heroin and say you're a drug addict and toss you out of the system like the mental anguish, and also the distributive verbal language, and also the abuse of child abuse. They're also providing services and taking money, assisting money, and taking money from others that don't have a voice, and they do have a voice because they're United States citizens, so they have all this counting. And that's Bonnie, Yvonne Hernandez, and also Mr. Vasquez, farm license, and then Mrs. Melissa McKnight, and Kim Wayman, Secretary of State, which is upstairs. And I don't think Roberta Barela has a voice anymore, since they like having sex with her, with the Vietnam vets, and also the opiates, as Mr. Don Trumper knows that they're all drug addicts, and the same with his brother's a habitual drug addict and also a alcoholic for the Hooter bar, strip joint, titty bar, which don't even exist anymore. When Donald Trump's at the airport, we have the Mr. Bill Gates, who isn't upset, Miss Phoebe. So you have some nerve coming on the property with the figuring out that having sex and permanent sits and make you guys words didn't work out for December 3rd was the transaction report shows on the Ford company, and also the Raptors serial numbers for the factory and John Deere factory. So Microsoft programs, we don't have to produce robot software for you for John Deere Evergreen Implement or RDO ever again. We'll take all the guns and the hardware and all call plans and the business license and revoke insurance companies and revoke every one of them. See, I don't ask for hands out or I ask for Social Service Department, Social Service CPS service. I go there every time since it has to be remodeled. All the account and checking accounts has to be renewed and replaced. And nothing but thieves. Like jumping people on Wall Street, downtown Spokane. I was Washington Mutual, now afraid of Washington, suffering, pain, and anguish. Washington Mutual is no more there. So Donald Trump and Bill Gates, you got the contact phone number, first name, last name. There is the phone records are matching, and also the stipulation for the cremator key. Anybody weighing at 100 pounds or 500 pounds is about 14 minutes. We'll have you cremated and blended and put in the urn, open casket, a closed casket. All expenses paid. Scalia's dead. He's a Christian. Mr. Falquist is no more power. And Miss Ginsburg is gone. And Kennewick High School administrator, the Judy, and also the jailer Janelle, and also Todd Story, they represented the case for Kennedy for his murder. And the guy in the grassy knoll in Rest Haven in Parkhurst, which number 13, space 1, 2, 3, and 4 are lowered at Greenlee Memorial, where the caskets are displayed here at 801 Pioneer Way. But I have a lot of employees from Lamb Weston that were abandoned here. Federal employees, state employees, and they want their jobs back. The welding company, contractors, plumbers, the welders, laying rebar, pouring concrete, and doing steel work, welders, fabs for the Navy Department, also the Army and the Marines, walked out on Donald Trump for the simple fact they're having sex with my mother, and Bill Gates having sex with my mother, and also when Bill Gates, Donald Trump showing at Bill Gates, Phoebe, and also the siblings, Bill Gates, were very upset. Walking down Jackson Street with Bill Gates himself, subways to subways, and it's 7 miles from work source from Madrona Inn, 1835 Madrona Inn. Bill Gates states that's 98309 is the zip code of Seattle, Washington, which is 7 miles from downtown George Washington Bridge to work source. So we got their audits, the hours, the salary, prevailing wage, state, federal ordinances, and also the funeral home consists of hiring and firing and processing and have everybody have their hours calculated and their wages. For any downtime discrepancy, since the Lamb Weston plant lost some employees because they left them stranded there, and some of them were and going some serious difficulties, finance difficulties. So they're US Bank, Chase Bank, Overbank. So they can get to straighten all their systems out. Lay some plywood, some rebar, refurnish some reboard, powder some concrete, do some winter ordnance, pour concrete in the wintertime. Environmental fee, do a tax audit process, and that's Melissa McKnight for the Washington, the prosecutor of Moses Lake, Grant County. All homeless shelters and tents are kicked out of the Washington state ordinances. No more homeless people in the area, no more. Crime wave is and Andy Miller's contracts to process anybody to not reviolate, not come back to prison or come back to jail for the expenses for taxpayers, that they can carry a job and not refund. Non-violent offenders is preferably picked. Non-violent offenders will never go back to jail or prison again. Simple fact. They're having sex with Roberta Barela. Now any 50 states are 5 borders of criminal convicts, and Mr. Soderman, that's dead now, went to the Social Security office, and there's a ghost. And all, as Moom and Ganja have children, that 1099 tax form for Moom and Ganja, that's a VOC, and the sibling, the kids, that tax form and stipulation form, it's on Facebook, YouTube, and that's Senator Patty Murray in Cantwell. Patty Murray in St. Cantwell, she married Cantwell in St. Mary. She gets to do work with the plumbers, since the plumbing is exposed on YouTube, Facebook. Mr. Morgan Insurance Company, and also Open Bank, Chase Bank, US Bank, and also Federal, US Federal. We're going to have all the checks and transactions for 1099 tax returns are furnished and updated. Now, if they have problems with documentation from John Deere Evergreen Implement, we just purchased a lot of tools over the phone, a DeWalt and VSR and a high impact Milwaukee. Has 400 pounds more torque to break the bolts off for the winter time, and break the bolts off in the water time. If there's water, you work with Zimatics, Lindsay's, Scone, Valleys, Maxfield, Zimatics, and Scone and Connor Irrigation. Scone and Connor Irrigation attach all the assessments to Vista Utility and Grant County POD. There's donuts, Grunt tires go to Grant County. The Grunt tire goes to Vista, Spokane, and goes through the reservations. And also the Colville Davenport Historic Hotel that provides services, restaurant business for the natural propane lines. Natural propanes are a population of 90 million. That's 90 million people. According to the chart, it's 5 billion people that go in population. In restaurant businesses, like Lamb Weston has their trucks, shipments, Freightliners, Peterbilts, and the scale by State Patrol ordinances, inspections, in Spokane, Tacoma, Bellevue, Brent, Accordis, Bellevue, Bellingham, Tacoma, Canada state border, Spokane, Oregon state border, I-82, I-28, there's I-80, which is Oregon, Idaho state border, Spokane, Canada state border, Spokane, ISIS Tillman and Till members in the processing for the FBI CID number. So these U.S. citizens have opiate. They got medications to throw off, and they also got opium patches as heroin patch for the cancer patients. Marijuana, Sensiming, ganja. For the Cancer Society Chronology being called County and Lady Lord's Cadillac facility in Richland, Washington. They have Air Force base and also the Army base and the Marine base are exposed to opiates because of relapse and individual access to drugs. And they can't help to deliver it. And if they get caught, as you can see, the consequences, they get put in a position. Even the police officers, state patrolmen, they're not perfect because they beat up their wife. They're not perfect. U.S. Marshal bailiffs ain't perfect, and their daughters and their children lose their contract, the scholarships, because access to drugs. So they ain't perfect. They don't care what they think, and when they're influenced with drugs or alcohol, until the last thing, they'll get a phone call. As you can see, he'll put the gavel on the robot, say what he wants. But it'll work out for him. Now the crematorium, we gotta scrub the body, take the body from the crematorium. You gotta scrape all this USA approved from Canada, Yakima Reservation, all the way from Texas, Nebraska, Cozad, North Platte, and also the cattle shipment receiving from Yakima. Also the cattle they got Angus off this grill. Make sure a digestive system for your serratus and your abdominals, upper and lower, and your squats, which is your aspiratus. Your strong is your heart. Second, your hamstrings, your legs, your chest as well, your chest, and your legs and your heart, main arteries. So let's drink, binge, purge, go buy some drugs, run the streets till they call their mother and father, the general, NATO admiral, wanting their computer access, and they got to use the computer, but the computer can't get damaged. You got to return because they're in jail. So they use that computer, trade off information, and Superior District's Municipal Court. I think, and then they're going to start pushing around, bullying other adversaries. U.S. Marshals, State Patrol, United States citizens, senators, judges, federal judges. And I'm sitting here eating with the judges at the table. And loose lips sink ships. That's a saying. Loose ships sink ships. That's no joke. No joke at all. I've changed the identity on this. Saved billions. Chinese dollar. The dollar value for the United States is stronger. Chinese is getting kicked out of their residence and business office because the dollar value is up. And maybe it's a good wake-up call for the United States of America, because this is the United States of America. This is not any foreign communist country, Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, or the administration office for the dollar value exchange on Wall Street, where they like jumping people on Wall Street, downtown Spokane, for that fact. U.S. citizens like jumping people on Wall Street, downtown Spokane. Now we take this body out of the crematorium and put it in an urn. Remember, you got to scrape the sides real good. Make this conviction rate. And this lethal injection, this guy's not going to get out. He's going to be killed in prison with the lethal injection or by another prisoner. One way or another, this will be cleaned up for everybody to know that the dollar value is appreciated. Since the corruption, ISIS, Taliban members, also all the siblings of the Communist Party comes on this state, on this border, trying to run and carry around bullies, cronies, individuals. Mr. Donald Trump is a witness, of course. You try killing Donald Trump, try murdering him, try killing him. U.S. citizens, communists, in front of the judges, the prosecuting staffs. John F. Kennedy was murdered 2 months later from Richmond, Washington, Cadillac Hospital. And as these criminals and convicts, they're very connected. Not connected, strings are not attached. And it's pretty common here in the billionaire side. What's the San Luis Obispo, LA, Los Angeles Airport? Donald Trump and Colin Powell. They grew up. It's time for them to realize the dollar value is gone up. For the simple fact, you can't change somebody. You can't intimidate somebody who's not going to ever change. Ever. For anybody. That's priceless. That's what I see. Priceless. Got these little kids walking around, now they're judges, subpoenaing their own children, subpoenaing their own mother and father. So you see them walking around, you think you're going to take advantage or rape them or molest them or take advantage of them and take their money and run the other direction and figure you can make them look like a drug addict and shoot them up and let them run the streets of Tacoma, Seattle, or Jackson Street, or in a bar, or the most infested HIV people having personal affairs with their husbands and also having sex, and having AIDS victims shooting up and taking advantage of it at the same time, passing for the next victim to figure they're not going to do nothing about it. Another thing coming. Totally different now. Spotless. Spotless.